The strain between Russia and the United States reached a breaking point after Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, approved the invasion of Ukraine. The commanders of NATO's military have been given the powers to deploy troops where help is needed after Russia's latest measures, and the USA's defense secretary has guaranteed the Baltic states that should they face security threats from Russia, they will receive adequate help from the United States. If the United States invades Russia, will the American military stand a chance against the Russians? In today's video, we will compare the Russian and the United States' military according to the Military Balance for 2022, the yearly report of the International Institute for Strategic Studies. This comparison is to see which country stands a higher chance if the United States decides to invade Russia. The United States of America has ranked number 1 when it comes to military power, and it still holds that position presently. The total population of the United States is just short of 335 million people, while Russia's is just over 142 million. The USA has approximately 1.4 million active service personnel in the military, compared to Russia's approximately 1.1 million active personnel serving. The number of reserve personnel serving the United States presently is 860,000, while Russia has maintained the 2 million reservists over the years. The total number of manpower available to the United States is 147.4 million, while in Russia it is 69.75 million people. The number of people fit for service in the United States is 122,274,415, while in Russia it is 46,618,219. The number of people who reach the military age of 18 annually in the United States is over 4.3 million, while the number of people who reach the military age of 17 annually in Russia is over 1.2 million. Based on population size, the United States still has a much larger number of applicants available for military service. Although the Russian armed forces have more draftees than professional volunteers, Russia still has an edge in drafting and mobilizing its citizens in the first year of the war, before drive and resolve issues and training affects the number of the troop. On military expenses, in 2019 the United States spent over $731 billion and budgeted $750 billion for 2020. Russia has spent over $65.1 billion in 2019 and budgeted over $66 billion for 2020 on military expenses also. In air power, the United States Armed Forces has 1,514 aircraft capable of combat, 66 bomber aircraft, 740 attack helicopters, and 416 uninhabited aerial vehicles, while Russia has 1,172 aircraft capable of combat, 76 bomber aircraft, a little over 399 attack helicopters, and below 50 uninhabitable aerial vehicles. In sea power, the United States Armed Forces has 14 ballistic missile nuclear-powered submarines, 51 attack and guide missile submarines, 11 aircraft carriers, 113 cruisers, destroyers, and frigates, and 31 principal amphibious ships, while Russia has 11 ballistic missile nuclear-powered submarines, 38 attack and guide missile submarines, 1 aircraft carrier, 13 cruisers, destroyers, and frigates, 21 land ships, 28 landing crafts. The United States continues to dominate in sea and air power. In the spring of the year 2020, the United States ordered 78 new F-35 fighter jets, which cost $4.7 billion. These aircraft are shared among the United States Air Force, Navy, and Marines. November 2020, the Navy amended its contract with Newport News Shipbuilding to expedite the construction and delivery of the John F. Kennedy. This second of the Navy's planned carriers has been scheduled to be delivered on June 30th, 2024, and it has been equipped to fly the F-35C fighter, rather than being upgraded subsequently. Russia continues in the test of the Su-57 stealth fighter jet, its answer to the American F-35C fighter jet. However, the first functional Su-57 aircraft crashed during a test flight in December 2019. It encountered several development problems, including developing the second-generation engine for the jet. Currently, the Su-57 has been delayed till no earlier than the mid-2020s. June 2020, an improved Project 955A, or Bore-A, a strategic nuclear-powered missile carrier submarine, joined service with the Russian Navy. The fourth-generation submarine was originally scheduled to be delivered at the end of 2019. The submarine has improved maneuverability, depth, and weapon control system. All Bore-class submarines can carry 16 Bulava ballistic missiles and are equipped with 533mm torpedo tubes. In land power, the United States Armed Forces has around 6,289 combat tanks, 8,000 Abrams main battle tanks, over 24,000 armored fighting vehicles, over 1,400 self-propelled artillery, 1,350 multiple launch rocket systems, 2,931 infantry fighting vehicles, 2,645 main battle tanks, 5,123 artillery, and 400 intercontinental ballistic missile launchers, ICBMs, compared to Russia's 12,950 combat tanks, 13,500 Abrams main battle tanks, over 23,000 armored fighting vehicles, although most of them are in reserve, over 5,500 self-propelled artillery, 3,600 multiple launch rocket systems, 5,180 infantry fighting vehicles, 2,927 main battle tanks, 5,123 artillery, and 339 intercontinental ballistic missile launchers, ICBMs. Most of Russia's 12,950 combat tanks are currently reserved Cold War models that would need weeks of refurbishment to be functional and may not be able to perform well on a modern battlefield. The United States and Russia are currently carrying out major multi-year projects to streamline and modernize their armed forces. In 2020, the first batch of modernized T-90M Proryov main battle tanks was supplied to Russia. The tanks were equipped with a new multi-channel targeting system, which allows weapons to be used at any time of the day and can now also communicate and exchange data with other vehicles in real time. In special operations, the United States and Russia both have intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance equipment. The United States Special Operations Command, USACOM, supervises special operations and movements around the world. This brings together a web of elite commanders for the United States Army, Air Force, Naval and Marine Corps. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies report, there are over 65,000 personnel in USACOM. The USACOM's mission includes reconnaissance, rescue, and retrieval of hostages, combating weapons of mass destruction, and the fight against terrorism. Russia's Special Forces, Spetsnaz, consists of 1,000 men, while the country has Air Force, Marine, and Naval Special Force units. These forces are based in each of Russia's 5 military districts that share military jurisdiction over the country's vast landmass. In cyber, the US Cyber Command is supervised by the National Security Agency, and it includes 133 cyber mission teams. This is identical to the United Kingdom's National Cyber Force's foremost strategy. Russia sees the cyber as an area that must be protected by its armed forces, although its chain of control in this area is often clouded by civilian authorities. In late 2019, the United States received a new, separate bunch of military service when President Trump created the Space Force. To date, the United States is the only country with an independent military force tasked with protecting its interests in space. The US Space Force was established in 2019 and is under construction and has over 6,000 personnel. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies yearly report, capacity building and countermeasures for the US Space Force are progressing rapidly, and it is the result of peer rivals demonstrating anti-satellite and space control capabilities and changing America's space constitution to simultaneously make it more defensible and accessible to allies and trading partners. The Space Force organizes, drills, and supplies the military forces to protect the United States and its allies' space interests, and provide space capacities to joint combat commands. The Russian Space Command contracts radar technology from nearby countries. The United States and Russia have communication and satellite equipment, although the United States also has counter-communication systems in space. Space armaments continue for both countries, and the United States and Russia with the development of a combination of counter-space systems. In nuclear weapons, the United States is one of 5 nuclear weapons states recognized by the Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, and they possess a substantial arsenal of nuclear weapons, comprising approximately 10,350 intact warheads, of which 5,300 are thought to be active or functional. About 4,530 strategic warheads are in service, including 1,150 on land-based missile systems, ICBM Minuteman and Peacekeeper, 1,050 on B-52 and B-2 bombers, and 2,016 on Ohio-class submarines. 780 warheads are tactical nuclear warheads, TNW, and consist of approximately 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles and 580 B-61 bombs. The remaining warheads are stored. 480 of the 580 functional B-61 bombs are located in 8 bases in 6 different NATO countries, and these bombs are the remaining US armament in forwarding deployment. About 6,000 of the 10,500 of the United States warheads were retired, and 5,000 have been placed into responsive reserve when the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty of Moscow mandated the United States and Russia to reduce the amount of their strategic nuclear arsenal to 1,700 to 2,200 by 2012. The Soviet Union had warheads estimated to be 35,000 in store before its collapse. After the collapse of the Soviet bloc building, Russia inherited the Soviet warheads and had around 20,000 nuclear weapons. According to the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty of Moscow, Russia reduced its arsenal to approximately 7,000 warheads and was further mandated to reduce it to 1,700 to 2,200 nukes by the end of 2012. Over the years, relations between the United States and Russia have deteriorated further. On the 2nd of August 2019, the United States officially withdrew from the INF Treaty over the deployment of SSC-8 missiles by Russia. There are currently no plans to reissue this treaty. The Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty was to expire in 2021 and was extended until 2026. The treaty limits the United States and Russia to placing 1,550 warheads on 700 delivery systems, and these include the intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and bombers. During the Trump administration, several incidents between the troops intensified tensions between the United States and Russia. A B-52 bomber of the United States Air Force was harassed by Russian fighter jets as it flew over the Black Sea and international waters. 6 Russian jets flew so close to Alaska that Air Force F-52s attempted to obviate them. A Russian armored vehicle intentionally crashed into the American patrol in Syria and injured 7 United States soldiers. A Russian military intelligence agency has secretly given bounties to Taliban fighters for killing coalition forces in Afghanistan, including attacking US troops. Even after Trump was briefed about these bounties, he chose to believe Putin's denial of the issue and took no actions against him. President Putin denied the allegations made against Russia for using cyber techniques to attack elections in the United States and other countries, hacking into the Defense Ministry emails, and conducting political and social disinformation campaigns. President Trump took Putin's denials to be true against the words of the government officials. Also in 2020, President Putin released a written statement calling for a cyber ceasefire and even drafted a 4-point plan for the restoration of US-Russia security relations. Some academic experts believe that a cyber war is not viable. Weapons agreements have worked because access to nuclear weapons is very limited, but cyber weapons are controlled by countries, criminal groups, militants, and teenagers. States can conduct cyber activities through covert operations with the help of agents, including criminal groups. It would be almost impossible to enforce such a treaty. Following the invasion of Ukraine, the United States President Joe Biden has placed heavy sanctions on the Russian oligarchs in an attempt to cripple Russia's economy. In air and sea power, the United States will have a more winning edge due to its advanced technology and experience. They may face a huge loss if the submarine invasion of Russia is not well planned. In land power, in a one-on-one fight, it will be a draw since the United States has more training and experience, and Russia has more combat tanks. And that brings us to the end of this video. Let us know in the comments section if you like this video and want to see more content like it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell to get notified when we post a new video.